Hi guys, welcome back to Obsessed with Balls podcast. Sorry we missed out last week. Not planned, but some things just happen, you know?
Sometimes you get really busy.
Yeah, little busy in life. Maybe one day this will be the only thing we have to do.
Yeah, that'd be pretty amazing,
That would
wouldn't
be
it? That would, yeah, I'm there. Sold.
All about it.
Sold.
All about it. But we're here back talking about NFL today. And we're really going to focus on, I think, what theme today.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we're very themed up today, and that theme is our teams needing to move on from the coaches.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I wasn't a lifelong Saints fan. I started being a Saints fan. The post Katrina thing really tied me into New Orleans as a Baton Rouge boy. I didn't feel the connection to New Orleans as much as I did post Katrina, and then becoming part of that city and having that really be the thing. And that's also just timed up very well with losing to the Bears in the NFC Championship game. That was the season.
Thomas Jones. You guys had it, and then they ran Thomas Jones 8 times in a row in the snow.
Yeah.
Which I do think that probably the difference maker in that game really was the weather.
Home field advantage, 100%.
Yeah, I think it was the weather.
10 out of 10 times in New Orleans.
Yeah, because I think it's kind of like the Dolphins and Chiefs last year.
Yep.
Look, Chiefs probably were going to win that game.
For sure.
But you could tell the cold how much it affected those Dolphins players. You can't practice in the cold if you're in Miami.
No.
You can't practice in the cold if you're in a dome in New Orleans.
No, you can't. No,
and
it's in the weather related aspect of it as well, with just having the snow on the ground. That was a tough one, but that was the beginning of my Saints fandom. So I've had a pretty successful life of a Saints fan, and I think right now it's definitely at its lowest it's ever been. And
I know what low feels like.
You do. You've been a lifelong Bears fan, and while you've had some ups, you've had probably more.
Oh man,
more
it's
lows.
awful. No, definitely more lows. Yeah. Well, yes, more lows. Yeah, more lows.
For sure.
There aren't really many highlights. In my entire life.
No, Super Bowl appearance obviously is.
That was it.
Pretty good, but that would be the one.
I mean,
how many have y'all won the division since then, huh?
Well. We went to the playoffs and played the Eagles, Mitch Trubisky's rookie year.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Man, I forgot about that.
Uh-huh. Oh, you forgot about the double doink? Good for you.
Yeah.
The embarrassments just stack up. And then I think I don't know why, but I thought for some reason we went to an NFC Championship game. I should remember that.
I thought y'all went to an NFC Championship game since then.
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong about that. And the fact that I can't remember makes me think something horrible happened.
Yeah, you blacked it out.
Yeah.
You blacked it out.
Yeah. So if that did happen, it was awful.
For sure. And,
and I might be making that up.
But we'll start with the Saints. It's absolutely atrocious right now. We can't buy a win. There is just absolutely nothing on. Brings back the days of the paper bags. People are talking about it. The city is in disgust, and you just look at Dennis Allen's record at the end of the day, and it's bad. It's bad. It's historically bad. He's a bad coach. They wanted to throw out all of these, excuse after excuse after excuse of why we're not winning. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters who you're putting on the field right now. The defensive coach, the defense doesn't care. The defense in the Buccaneers game, I'll go back before we talk about the Chargers game. The Buccaneers game was the vision of it. Your defense comes out, has 3 turnovers, you're in the lead, you got it, and then they gave up. They don't have faith in the coach, and we got to move on. We'll bring up some stats here and some things that kind of just prove all these points. At the end of the day, it's really bad. Let's full screen that one. There we go. Yeah. So at one point, your notable injuries, right? You're looking at starting quarterback, number 1 wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver, number 1, your top 2 best offensive linemen, Ryan Ramczyk. Why? He's been gone for 2 years, it feels like.
Yep.
Why is he even on there? Your number 1 corner, your number 2 linebacker, and your number 3 cornerback, and your starting safety. All out, right? That's a lot.
It's
going to be hard to win. I remember when I saw this, I said, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
All those dudes could be in the game, and we still fucking suck.
Yep.
You know? And we suck because Dennis Allen, right? I mean, this dude is out here, you know, every time it says the last 6 time we had 6 straight losses. And look, I think we're going to lose the Panthers this week, to be perfectly honest.
I picked them.
Yeah. I think we're losing the Panthers.
I picked the Panthers to win the game.
I don't.
And as a Bears fan, that's upsetting because that's our second round pick right there.
Yeah, yeah. And I look. I'll say this: like I'm gonna pick the Saints, but I think we're gonna lose. And so you're gonna go to 7 straight wins. 3 of the 4 times that's happened in the history of the Saints, fired the coach after next season. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. We need to get rid of him. I mean, Dennis Allen has had a losing record in Oakland, has a losing record in New Orleans. Like, what are we doing here? Like, 12-15 as a head coach of the Saints, 20-43 as a total, and that's as of a week ago. So now it's 12-16, 20-44. Like, how does this dude have a job? Like, what are we talking about here? You know, it's just it's brutal. You know, we're the only team that has a positive point differential and a losing record. I don't even understand that. Like, I mean, I get how it happens. Like, when you win big, and then you just lose everything else.
Well, they scored a ton of points early in the season.
For
like
sure.
those first 2 games.
100 points almost. 90 points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it happens.
Yeah, and I get it, but it's just so bad. Like, I'm over it. Like, I'm not gonna be a Saints fan. Like that.
Yeah.
I'm at that point in my life where, like, I'm an adult and I'm a Saints fan. That's where we are.
Sometimes you can love and hate your team.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm at right now. And, you know, then and this is something I want to bring up as well. This is a hard one, right? The Alvin Kamara thing. I love Alvin Kamara. Got to meet him a lot when I was living in New Orleans. Super cool dude, really kind, like always was coming in the restaurant all the time and was like super friendly, like really respectful.
Makes the game look easy too.
Like, and he really does. I don't know if that's the best signing. You know, it's one of those things that like, I'm glad he wants to be a Saint for life, and I'm glad that he's going to be a Saint for life, and he'll get into the Ring of Honor and, you know, maybe end up being a Hall of Fame player if he can keep the production that he's got right now for the next 3-4 seasons. But I mean, we need to get younger. We need to get out from under the cap. We're just kicking a can down the road. It's just embarrassing.
That's what worries me most about that signing is, like, you don't want to give up your best players, especially when you're trying to give, presumably here soon, a young quarterback an opportunity to try to learn and grow. Like, you don't want to throw them into a Bryce Young situation.
Right.
But you also don't want to spend a bunch of cap money on like, when you're the Saints have, like, probably the worst cap situation in the NFL. So you need to start clearing that cap.
Yeah.
And rebuilding that roster, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Make good draft picks.
Yeah, well, and I think, look, Dennis Allen's got to go. We understand that.
Yeah.
He's historically one of the worst coaches in NFL history.
Yeah.
There's just no argument to that. He's got to go. Clint Kubiak, I'd love to keep him on in any sort of situation.
Yep.
But you know who else has got to go? Mickey Loomis has got to go.
Yeah, well, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Mickey Loomis has got to get the fuck out of town. Like, look, you won a Super Bowl for us. You know, but, like, the Pelicans didn't get any better until they took away Mickey Loomis as being a GM for both.
Yeah.
You know?
And let me ask you a question here too, is, like, did they get rid of the best quarterback on the team?
100% they got rid of the best quarterback on the team. Because Jameis Winston goes out and with, I would say, lesser weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they have a running back that, I don't know. I mean, who's better, Chubb or Kamara? You know what I mean? Like,
just different type of guy.
Different type of guy, but I'd say same. In theory, we should have a better offensive line. You know, like this guy wins football games. This guy, and I mean, like at the end of the day, like, and I hated him coming out of college.
And not to take away from this discussion, because this is what we're really trying to talk about. But like, just crazy that the Browns would keep him on the bench. Well, I assume because of money.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and throws for 300 something passing yards, I think, and 3 touchdowns in his first game starting as a Brown.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, what did you guys think was going to happen? And that takes me back to the Saints. Is like, so what were we? What were we doing? Like,
right. So Derek Carr is better than him.
Maybe Derek Carr's first couple of years on the Raiders, maybe, but we're not talking about that.
We're
Derek
not talking
Carr.
about that. Derek Carr. You know, you're telling me Jake Haener is better? I mean, look, I've
Spencer Rattler.
I'm kind of buying into the Rattler thing as a future, but like,
I hope he works out.
I hope he works out, but I mean, we need him to at this point, unless we're going to go spend the number 1 draft pick on a quarterback. And in my opinion, not necessarily like, I don't see anybody in college football that is like a guaranteed guy. So what are we going to do? Like we're stuck in this really, really bad situation right now.
And I also wonder if, I don't know enough about Shedeur.
Yeah.
And Deion, even though I watch a lot because we're here in Colorado, so like we probably see and hear a little more than people
I would say
outside of Colorado.
For sure.
But like, that's one family I could see pulling like an Eli Manning.
Oh, 100%.
And being like, you know what? We don't have to play for you.
Yeah.
Like the things that people said Caleb was going to do,
yeah,
I could actually see happening with Shedeur.
100%.
And now I don't have any actual factual information on that, so I don't want to start rumors.
But I agree with what you're saying.
But opinion, like my personal opinion is I could see like Carolina, maybe the Saints. Like I don't think the Saints are like a franchise that people go like, that's a horrible franchise.
Right.
But I could see them being like, no, we don't have to play for you.
Right. No, I could see that, and that's not hard for me to see.
And I could see Shedeur being one of the top 2 quarterbacks drafted.
I mean, that's everything that I've seen. That's where they've got him is one of the top 2 quarterbacks, and we'll see. I mean, I've read some things from some top analytics people, and like they're saying that he right now is the best decision maker, the best ball thrower in the entire class. Right.
Yep.
We'll see what that looks like when he plays with, you know, an offensive line that can protect
when
him.
He's not playing with
nothing.
The 2024 Heisman Trophy winner. I know. We're not really talking college football right now, but
yeah. So
did he just won offensive and defensive player of the week,
which is just fucking so awesome.
And I think it's the second time he's done it.
Yeah,
maybe this season.
Yeah, that's just so awesome. I mean, he's just wild, dude. He's just wild.
Yeah.
But I mean, to get back to the Saints, I'm kind of, I don't want to even talk about it too much further because it's just, there's just nothing we can do unless we're gonna fire somebody. And the Saints, I mean, like, I want to do it now. But at the same time, like, whatever. Let's just go lose every game with Dennis Allen and then fire Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis. That's where I'm at. Look, thank you, Mickey Loomis. You were great.
Well, what's tough is he's handing out contracts still. So if he gets fired too, now it's making it harder for the next GM.
For sure. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, let's get him gone before we have to deal with even worse situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think that's going to lead us right into, you know,
our next favorite head coach in the NFL. Okay, so let's just say what the fuck first, because I don't even know where to begin. You know, last year I really wanted them to fire Matt Eberflus because I'm looking at a coach who he's winning 1 out of every 3 games right? So he has a horrible record. But what really upsets me most is last season we had 3 of the worst defensive collapses, in my opinion, of all time, because we lost 3 games where we were up by 10 points with 2 minutes left in the game. The Broncos, the Lions, and I honestly forgot the other one because sometimes I had to block this stuff from my memory. But 3 games last season. And, you know, he went on a run and the defense is playing well. But don't forget, when Jalen Johnson was out week 18, I think it was, against the Packers didn't punt once. So the last game we play, we don't force a single punt.
That's bad.
We don't force a single punt. And they say, you know what? How about one more year? And what really bothers me about that whole situation is that Ryan Poles didn't have the opportunity to pick his own head coach. They interviewed head coaches, the ownership did, before they interviewed GMs. They narrowed it down to 3 coaches, and they said, pick your poison, basically. Who do you want? And so he went with Matt Eberflus. Was he forced to keep Matt Eberflus again? I don't know. You know, that will probably never come out unless Ryan Poles like retires in 40 years and is like, yeah, the Bears or the McCaskies are horrible. You know, we won't know. But here we are this season. Yeah, we looked great the past 2 weeks against the Panthers and the Jaguars.
Arguably the 2 of the worst teams in the league.
The Panthers. And I do want to give the Jags a little credit, though. I think they might be starting to.
The Jags
are they starting?
They're on the way up. It's Trevor Lawrence. After talking shit about him, I think we did a couple weeks ago. I don't know. He's playing good quarterback, but they are in a lot of trouble right now. I mean, all 3 of their wide receivers are injured. I think Brian Thomas is out for the next game as well. So, I mean, they might be on.
He looks good too, though, doesn't he?
He's just so good.
He looks really good.
I'm happy to see him doing what I thought he was going to do.
But what bothers me is we're back at collapsing. And if you're going to have a defensive head coach, you don't want to collapse because of the defense. And so for me, I don't care that over the past however many weeks we've been allowing the least points out of any defense in the NFL, right? We held the Commanders to the least points they've scored all season. And they're one of the highest scoring, if not the highest scoring offense in the NFL right now.
Highest scoring offense in the NFL.
And so, yeah, the defense looks great. But guess what? The defense is collapsing. And I don't think it's the players. I think there's a lot of talent on the defense. It's not the players. I think it's the coaches. So let's take a look at something here. Second to last play of the game. What are they doing here?
Look, I'm not an NFL coach. I watch a lot of football. It doesn't even look right if they are in prevent.
Yeah, there's confusion on the back end for sure.
Like, what are they doing?
Well, I think the players are probably saying, why are we back here? What are we defending?
Yeah, what are we defending?
What are we defending? And what really bothers me here is that I think Jaden does have a really strong arm. I think the best part of his game is his deep ball.
100%. I mean, he's unarguably right now the best deep ball thrower this season. So he has a great deep ball. I don't think he's throwing it from the 35-yard line, the opposite 35-yard line, and scoring a touchdown. No. 65-yard throw.
So Kevin Byard, Jalen Johnson, multiple players this week came out and said, well, I told Coach we should have been pressing the wide receivers. Bill Belichick said, well, if this were me, I would have been playing outside leverage, forcing them inside with the throw. Why? Because they didn't have any timeouts.
5 seconds left. 5 seconds left.
Yeah, well, I think before this play.
This was 5 seconds left after this play. It was 12 to start the drive. 12 to start the drive. They get the completion for like a 12-yard completion.
Yeah.
Call a timeout. And then right now you're looking at 5 seconds left on the 35.
And so they just give a free play to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin. I think for what, 15 yards?
It was a decent chunk, right?
It wasn't a nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It might have been closer to 20.
Yeah.
But either way, it's like, so you're just going to let them get into Hail Mary range.
Yeah.
And then you have Eberflus, or you have Tyreek Stevenson talking to fans. Eberflus could have just called a timeout.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And as he's like down the field, not paying attention to the things he should be paying attention to, Caleb had to pull him off the field because he was like on the field at the start of the play. Just call a timeout. Your rookie quarterback shouldn't be pulling you off it back to the sideline because you're like violating NFL policy.
Yeah. I mean, and then you go into the Tyreek Stevens things, like we've talked about this ad nauseum, but like obviously you shouldn't be talking to the fans. But at the end of the day, like, was his job to be boxing out Noah Brown?
Yeah,
Should he have been not boxing out Noah Brown?
It was.
Because it looks like, and then what the fuck is he doing?
So he was not the jump guy.
Right, exactly.
But to go back to coaching, that's why you call a timeout.
And you make sure everyone knows what they're fucking doing.
Exactly. You tell your players, hey, this is your job. Let's not forget what we're doing. We have one play left in the game. Stay focused. We're about to squeak this out. And I truly believe that if he would have called a timeout here, reinforced the play to the players, that would not have been a successful Hail Mary.
I couldn't.
And that is, for me, nothing to do with Jaden because he made the play.
Yeah, for sure.
But a Hail Mary oftentimes is a luck play.
Yeah.
This play happened because of
stupidity.
On the Bears' end.
Yeah. Well,
and the coach has to see it happening and call a timeout. Earlier in this game,
Montez Sweat's not on the field too.
The players. Well, yeah. Our best pass rushers weren't on the field. And on the Hail Mary, we're running. Well, really, we have Tremaine Edmonds on the running back, but the running back stayed in for pass blocking, which turns him into a quarterback spy. What do we think is going to happen? They're going to run a shovel pass. We're going to dump it off to the running back and go for fucking 50 yards? Or what are we going to do? Jaden's going to scramble through our entire team. And you know what? Maybe he could do that. I'd rather lose like that.
I'd 100%.
I'd rather and you know he's
like
great with his feet. So again, not taking away from him, but we're going to lose the game because we got not our best pass rushers out. We have someone running a spy, and we have another guy talking to the fans when we have timeouts.
Yeah.
And we just let this happen.
Yeah.
It's
as we said, it's atrociously bad.
Earlier in the game, we have running backs on the team. We hand the ball off to an offensive lineman after our left tackle gets hurt, our left guard gets hurt, and we're like, hey, you know what's a good idea right now? Let's have our backup lineman who we need right now because we're running out of linemen. Let's give him the ball. Because how do you tackle an offensive lineman? You dive at his knees.
Yeah.
So, and then here we are. Caleb marches us back down the field. And what are we going to do? A quarterback direct run twice in a row. Why? And so for me, it's just like coaching is losing us games. He shouldn't have been back, but he is back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talked about this in one of our first episodes about there was an epic failure, and it was all about Eberle. Your whole rant was about that, and kind of talk about the game a little bit. I mean, Jaden moves the ball up and down the fields. I mean, 328 yards. So you take away the 52 on the Hail Mary, you add the 52 he has running, 320 yards total offense. And you have a top 5 red zone defense, which shuts them down in the red zone, which only one other team has really done all year. They don't have the high overall, though. Even other games, they've kicked a lot of field goals in the red zone. But you've gotten a guy who has proven that he's going to roast you up and down the field, and you've stopped him in the red zone where it matters. And you come back after Caleb has a very abysmal first half. And
he played pretty well in the second half.
But he played definitely well in the second half. But I mean, I think he had 53 yards and on 25% completion rating in the first half. And
so you're saying Jackson Smith and Jigba maybe was right? Did you not see that clip?
I did not see that clip.
When in the offseason, he was at the Combine, I believe.
Yeah.
Advertising for something with Chris Olave, I think.
Okay.
It was the two of them. They were being interviewed, and they asked him what he thought about Shane Waldron, and he said, "Is this live?" And then he made a face like, yeah. And then he said, "Good luck."
Wow. Bad coaching. I think that's the end of it. I think that is at the end what we're talking about here.
And how many coordinators has Matt Eberflus had? And it's quite a few.
Yeah.
He had to fire someone in the middle of the season last year. I mean, when you can't hire coordinators, you're the defensive coordinator and your team's blowing leads.
Running this? Well,
let's just pull this up again and let's just look at this.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a job.
No.
On Monday.
No.
You shouldn't have a job.
No,
if your thing is defense,
and this is what you put on the field,
you shouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
I don't care how well they played. I don't care that they held them to 9 points until that Hail Mary. I don't care. You shouldn't have a job.
I agree.
And the little bit of rumor coming out here, though, which gives Bears fans some level of optimism, is that Albert Breer did say on 670 The Score, which is a Chicago Bears radio station, if not everybody knows, Danny Parkins just left. He's on the Football Breakfast. What do you know the new show?
I think it's
like Football Breakfast America or
yep,
something.
Yep.
Danny Parkins just came from 670, and Albert Breer said that there were a lot of people who thought Ben Johnson wanted the Bears' job, but it didn't become available. And Ryan Poles, when he played offensive line for Boston College, Ben Johnson was a graduate assistant there. So they do have some history together. They know each other personally, probably have each other's phone numbers, maybe talk. Maybe the whole thing going on this past offseason was, hey, Ben, stay in Detroit. Go win that Super Bowl. Go win that Super Bowl. Because I think Ben really wanted to stay.
Yeah.
But he wants to – every coordinator wants to be a head coach. Right?
Yeah. And there was a conversation I actually heard the other day about that where that it might be a little like you might not have to jump at the head coaching job because the pay has leveled off a little bit, where it's not this like huge gap between head coach to coordinator. But I think there's a lot of coordinators out there that if they, especially if they haven't done it yet, they want it. And I mean, his offense, they were out of control. I mean, Jared Goff, 12 for 15. I think Jared Goff has less interceptions than touchdowns for the entire season at this point, which is wild. And he only has to throw 85 yards for 3 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs runs wild. They're looking unstoppable. And, to go back and bring it back to the whole the collapse, you're sitting second in the division, tied for second in the division.
Yep.
With a 3-way tie. It's second in the division behind the Lions. Like, you're looking real good if you pull this off. This could be a rally point, a move. You come out, you beat the Washington Redskins, which are, sitting at number 2 seed in the NFL right now, in the NFC right now. What's that?
Commanders.
What did I say?
Redskins.
Oh, God damn it. Sorry.
They were the Redskins for a long time.
For a long time. Almost all.
Caleb let it slip because he, went to high school in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And he was at a press conference. He's like, the Washington Redskins. He's like, Commanders. Yeah.
But Commanders after this are now sitting as the number 2 seed behind the Lions, tied for the number 2 with the Vikings, the Packers. I think that's it. Those are the only 3 2-loss teams in the NFC right now. Vikings, Packers, Commanders.
Lions
are 1 loss.
Well, yeah.
They're the one, right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So you could have. This is a really big flip to lose this game. And, and the first, I didn't.
Well, I think the season's over.
I didn't. Well, and that's what I was going to bring up.
I think the season's over.
I let the silent the entire group let the silence in the text message for around 24 hours before you sent the messages, and that was one of the first things you said.
I think the season's over.
Yeah.
And when you have veteran players, like multiple leadership players, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Jalen Johnson, Kevin Byard, when you have players like that coming out and saying, hey, we should have played that differently. We don't know why we did that.
Yeah.
And then the head coach doesn't take accountability. And then now we had an open practice to get turned into a closed practice. And now Matt Eberflus came out and then all of a sudden did take accountability. What's going on behind the scenes?
Nothing.
Because you can lose games. I'm a big fan of CHGO podcast, and I think one of those guys said you can lose games as a head coach and keep your job, but the moment you lose the locker room, it's over.
Yeah.
And when the players stop believing in you, it's over.
And I think that that's what both of our teams.
Yeah.
My team definitely is in that situation. And it seems like you're probably following that line pretty quickly.
And go back a week or two,
who y'all
3 weeks ago, Mercedes Lewis came out into the public and was like, I had to tell the coaches, you got to coach the players. So when you have stuff like that going on, and you've only really looked good against 2 teams that are some of the worst teams in the NFL, and don't forget, we beat the Titans because of a Will Levis collapse.
Because Will Levis being Will Levis, right?
So
what's he doing?
So really, how good are we right now? Yeah. It's not that good.
Yeah. Who do y'all play this week?
The Cardinals. We have the Cardinals. Then we have the Patriots, and then we go on one of the toughest runs in football.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you going 1-1 in the next 2 weeks, and then after that, just yeah. I mean, do you think you can come back and win at least 2 divisional games?
We've had the Lions number.
Yeah.
So, like, I could see us beating the Lions once, but no one would be surprised if we lost both those games.
Yeah.
The Vikings, if they keep playing like that.
Right.
The Packers, when do we beat the Packers? So like, I could see us losing every single division game. We might beat the Cardinals. We might beat the Patriots.
I think you'll beat the Patriots.
And there's another really tough team in that run, like the 49ers, that we have to play.
Well, the Cardinals just keep finding ways to win. I mean,
because we have to play the 49ers, the Seahawks, and then all our division games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, it's not good, and I think the locker room's starting to stop believing. Well, I think there's been guys on this team that have been there the whole time, and you can only lose so much, and then have dumb stuff like this happen. We had 3 dumb losses last season.
Yep.
We would have been in the playoffs if we could have held on to a 10-point lead for 2 minutes,
which is just wild.
And it's like, if you're going to bring out a defensive head coach, that's the last thing you can have happen.
Yeah.
You need to lose because your offense can't move the ball, which, our offense wasn't moving the ball.
Correct.
But
you did when it mattered late in the game, took the lead.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you just can't lose because of your defense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could probably just bitch about this all day, but we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. Keep it real. Peace. Obsessed with balls.